Okay, welcome everyone. It's 2 o'clock. It looks like we can get started. Thanks for joining us this afternoon for a webinar on quality school meals. I'm Elaine McDonald, Director of Project PA, and I'll get us started here in just a few minutes. Just a few bits of housekeeping. First, use the Q&A box to submit your questions at any time during the webinar, but we'll save questions until the end and direct them to the presenters. There's a link on the slide for handouts to today's webinar. We will also post that in the chat box. Towards the end of the webinar, we'll also post a link where you can access a certificate for participating in today's webinar. The webinar is being recorded, so by participating, you agree to be recorded. With that, we will get started. So our presenters for today, in addition to myself, are Jenny Edmondson, Public Health Nutrition Consultant from the Pennsylvania Department of Education. And then we're pleased to have with us today 3 Pennsylvania School Food Service Directors. And in a minute, I'll explain why they are with us sharing today. But we have Carrie Boniak from Laurel School District, Lori McCoy, Colonial School District, and Kelly Renard, Dover Area School District. Just to give you a little bit of project background, the project that we're talking about today was based on a 2019 USDA Team Nutrition Training Grant. In 2019, USDA offered opportunities to states to apply for projects to implement and evaluate innovative state-developed training programs focusing on improving school meal quality. And I think many of you are aware that at that time, we had, for the previous several years, been offering hands-on culinary training sessions for school food service personnel in the summer. And we thought that that met the definition of an innovative state-developed training program. So we applied to implement and evaluate the culinary training sessions. And fortunately, we were awarded that funding through a 2019 Team Nutrition Grant. So that allowed us to do culinary training sessions in the summers of 2021 and 2022. The original plan was to offer those sessions in 2020 and 2022, but COVID set us back a year. But the funding also allowed us to do something that we had always hoped we would have the funding to do, but never had prior to this grant. And that is to offer mini grants to schools that are represented at those training sessions so that they could, participants could extend those lessons into their schools. We were able to do that with this funding. So we awarded mini grants up to $2,500 to 23 schools that were represented at those training sessions. And the requirements were pretty straightforward. They needed to do a local culinary training at their school for school food service employees, not a 2-day training like they attended in the summer, but taking some piece or component of that training and sharing it in their schools, and then doing some taste testing with students. Either recipes that were sampled and prepared at the culinary training sessions, or recipes or items that demonstrated a technique that they learned at those sessions. So I'm going to turn it over to our first presenter, who is Carrie Boniak, and I will just explain that Carrie and Lori and Kelly represent 3 of those mini grantee schools who had staff or themselves attended culinary training sessions and then received the mini grants to implement projects in their schools that involved, 1, improving the quality of school meals, but also improving students' perceptions of the quality of those meals. So with that, I will turn it over to Carrie.
I'm Carrie Boniak. I'm the food service director here at Laurel School District. We're in Newcastle, Pennsylvania, which is about an hour north of Pittsburgh. We are a rural school and a tiny school. We have about 1,000 students district-wide. I've been sending my staff to these things throughout the years, and found it very beneficial that they came back with new and innovative ideas to be able to share with the rest of the district. And this year they came back really, really excited about stuff that they were learning, and something as simple as the techniques that they were learning there. So what we ended up doing is we started implementing small taste testing and allowing the kids to be able to taste test the different items that we did once a month. Our biggest one was on February 8th. There they tried one of the recipes that were done in the book that they were given recipes, which was vegetable quinoa salad. And they were very interested in me being out there in the middle of the cafeteria. We have a table set up. They come in, they get to choose, and they get to vote whether they like it or not, whether they want it back on the menu, and with stuff like that. So we have found out that we even take it from all the way from our preschool kids all the way up to our seniors. From the results of this, we decide what goes and what stays on the menus. The vegetable quinoa salad was actually quite popular at the high school level. What happened at the high school level, if you go to the next slide, please, that shows that they were doing this. And we also, with this, we took the money, and the staff really wanted to know how to use the equipment that we had here at the school. And so we brought in a local chef, and we started with the bare basics. And the bare basics was, pretty much how to use a knife, how to sharpen a knife, how to properly, wash, handle, and all this. And then we used, after the knife training, we used that to be able to prepare that quinoa salad that the kids took. With this, we were able to purchase some new knives to be able to use in our school district, which was really great. Our knives have been here for a long time. The school was built in 1956, and some of those knives have been here for just as long. With that. But with this, it enabled us to end up to expand our fresh fruit and vegetable areas. We now offer a fresh fruit and vegetable bar, that the kids have more variety of choices to be able to take during the school day. So we're able to bring in new and interesting stuff for them to have. If you can go to the next slide, please. So this is more of the training that they had. We were preparing stuff for our salads, our quinoa, and our regulars do the day. We're doing chopping up red. We do red and green peppers and cucumbers and baby carrots. We offer a lot of colors and variety. We want the kids, as we say, to put a rainbow on their plate. That's the big thing. We jump off of the Skittles thing of taste the rainbow. We want them to, to be able to create a rainbow on their plate with that. Next slide. And here's what we do is we have the kids that come up, they'll be able to put whether they like it or not. At the high school level, it's very simple. But at the elementary level, we get in depth and we have them actually color in smiley faces. If you can go to the next slide. And here's me more with the high school kids. They're tasting it, and most of the kids at the high school level was a thumbs up. At my elementary level, it was kind of hit or miss, especially with the younger kids. As soon as you said quinoa, they had no idea what it was. So we kind of encouraged them to try it. We found out the pre-K really didn't like it. They made some very interesting faces for us. With that, next slide, please. How we did is we had different ones, and to kind of encourage them at the elementary level, stickers were used to say they tried something new. Kids will do about anything for a sticker at the elementary level. And so they would just be able to sit there and color in the smiley faces, whether they liked it or not. And the preschoolers for our Head Start program drew us wonderful pictures of us making the stuff for them. Because we even take all this stuff into our preschools here with our Head Start program. So they are able to have the same variety of fresh fruits and vegetables as our high school kids. Next slide, please. And this is how we ended up, doing it now. We offer, as we say, a more colorful variety of fresh fruits and vegetables, different salads. We've tried a broccoli salad, a carrot and raisin salad. We've brought in some black bean and corn salads, a tomato and cucumber salads, and some other stuff that students will not on a normal basis have. We brought in jicama this year for them to try, which is something new. We've done blood oranges, which is something new. So we are now able to bring in and have the students be able to at least try and encourage them to have something that is healthy for them. And that is all my presentation.
Thanks, Carrie. Next, we'll move on to Lori McCoy from Colonial School District.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lori McCoy. I'm the Director of Food Services at Colonial School District, which is a suburban school district on the outskirts of Philadelphia. We have approximately 5,400 students that span across 7 buildings, and our free and reduced percentage is approximately 24%. Next slide, please. So I have to start off by sharing that we have some of the most amazing food service workers that work in our district. Couldn't ask for better. However, the large majority of our food service workers do not have culinary backgrounds. And in fact, most applied to work in our district, not because they specifically enjoy working with food, but because the schedules are amazing and they're very compatible with their children or their grandchildren. And so it is a bit of a challenge for us because our district has a strong commitment to work towards preparing scratch cooked items. And so we find that the quality of scratch cooked meals are oftentimes superior in quality to the prepackaged counterparts. And so we have to rely a lot on training for to move in this direction. And one of the things that's been extremely beneficial for us over the last several years is sending our employees to the summer culinary training that Elaine McDonough was mentioning. It's a free training. It happens every summer. We've been sending employees since its inception in 2019, I believe. And this year we sent one of our new head cook managers, and it was hands-on 2 days where he learned knife skills. He was taught by a chef and actually created recipes, school compliant recipes. And so not only was it advantageous for us to get our employees trained, but as a result of attending this year, we were eligible to apply for that mini grant in the amount of up to $2,500, which we did apply for and receive. And I will talk about that a little further along in the presentation. But our grant project was to have our manager who went to the training come back and replicate that training with our other head cooks who were not able to attend, and to recreate a minimum of at least 2 of those recipes they learned at the culinary training session to put on our menu for the upcoming school year. Next slide, please. So the first of the 2 recipes that we decided to try out was the tiki masala. This was made at this year's summer culinary session, and our head cook was really excited about it. And so are we. We thought, okay, this is trendy, it's diverse, it's colorful. And we taught our staff how to prepare it, and they did an excellent job. And so we were a little overzealous, and we put it on the menu right away at the start of the school year in all grade levels. And although I would love to say it was wildly successful, it just wasn't. I had managers calling me, in fact, and saying, can you please take this off the menu? It didn't go well. Nobody took it. And so what we realized was we missed a critical step in this process. Next slide, please. The step that we were missing was the sampling, which should have occurred first. And if you take anything away from my presentation here, I would say just never underestimate the power of student sampling. So what we did is we prepared more batches of the tiki masala. We took it out to the schools and we tried it again. We did receive some feedback, especially from the younger kids, that said it was a little too spicy. So we made a few revisions and then put it back on the menu. And this time it was much more, it was received much better. And in fact, at one of our elementary schools, the first time around, we had served, I think 40 portions of it. And the second time around, we had served well over 100. So it was definitely growing. We realized that the students just weren't taking it because they weren't familiar with it initially. And I do just have to share a quick story. It was just about 2 weeks ago, I was walking around this particular, it's in this picture, this school site, White Marsh Elementary, in the school cafeteria, and it was pizza day. And I presumptuously said to a student, "Oh, it's pizza day. Is that your favorite lunch?" And she shook her head at me and said, "No, the tikka chicken is my favorite lunch," referring to the tiki masala. So we thought that was pretty neat. Next slide, please. The second recipe that we tried was the carrot quinoa muffins. And so with this one, this was also another recipe that was taught at the culinary training. And the only substitution we made was we used zucchini instead of carrots because we had an ordering mistake, which never happens. And we had an abundance of zucchini on hand. So we figured, let's just swap it out. It makes sense. The tasting results were not as positive as they were with the tiki masala, but then we attributed that to the fact that carrots do have a natural sweetness that zucchini doesn't have. So that could have been the reason. However, despite that, it was still a win for us. And you might ask why. And I would say because the staff were becoming more confident in their skills. They were more confident in their abilities, and they started to agree that the quality was much better than some of the prepackaged things they were used to. So we were finding that they're, jumping on board, except for one little thing still. They said, but it is very time consuming. It takes a lot of time to prepare, sit there and grate zucchini and to prepare all this stuff. We just don't have that time, they said. So next slide. And so what we decided to do with some of the grant funding that we had, we spent the bulk of it on purchasing a food processor that had slicing and grating discs to make the process more easier and to help with kitchen efficiencies, because we all know time is of the essence in a school cafeteria. This is not a mind-boggling thing. It's just something that we had overlooked, that there are definitely tools out there that can help you get the job done easier. So I would say, just again, another takeaway is to make sure your staff have the right tools for the jobs that you're asking them to do. So now we have, we did spend a little bit of the funding too on labor hours for the training, and also for some of the food items and the associated supplies that we used for the sampling events. But so now that we have the tools, we have the staff buy-in, we have their skills increasing, we decided we wanted to take this a little bit further. Next slide, please. So now we looked at what items we might want to sample to put to find permanent placements on our menu for the 23-24 school year coming up. So based on some student requests for some more plant-based items, we made a plant-based tuna salad out of chickpeas, and the original recipe calls for seaweed, which is not readily available from our distributors. So we found that using soy sauce gave a similar taste profile. We did the pho noodle bowls, which were customizable, and we did chicken enchiladas. And the chicken enchiladas, we used the food processor to dice the onions, so that was helpful in that situation. And what we did is we provided the student groups who came through here with a QR link to a survey to gather their feedback. And there was also a box for a narrative. And so when we go to the next slide, I can show you what some of those remarks were. One student noted that school meals often have a stigma of not being flavorful or for having weird textures, but the food I sampled were definitely not either of those things. Another student said, I think the biggest thing for me is that it doesn't taste like that stereotypical school food. And a third student said, I think they did a really good job here because it tastes like something you would get in a restaurant. So I would say that they were pretty high marks as a result of those taste testing and feedback sessions, which all indicate, they all lean towards high quality, that the students thought these items were of higher quality than some other foods. Next slide, please. So finally, we were asked to include a slide on the quality and perception of school meals. And as you may be aware, I've talked about it most of this presentation, but taste testing was really instrumental for us, just getting the things out in front of the students. One of your students may have had something in your cafeteria years ago that they didn't like, and have just decided not to come back. So it's important to get it out in front of them with things that newer things you might be doing. We also found that the wording on the menu helps us as well. For example, if you're just listing enchiladas and you change it to homemade enchiladas or house-made enchiladas, it helps. It goes a long way with improving the perception. The ingredients I talked about, we used we created the pho noodle bowl, and we did have broccoli and bok choy in the broth itself, but we did let the students customize their toppings. We had cilantro, we had hoisin sauce, we had jalapenos, we had lime, just a variety of different toppings that could go on them, because customizable meals are everywhere. They've been here for a little while, and it doesn't seem like they're going anywhere in the near future. And then finally, paying attention to the serving vessels and presentation. We put ours in a black bowl because it helps with color contrast. I noticed in Carrie's presentation, she had a lot of things in black containers as well. And we sometimes I just feel like white styrofoam doesn't really scream high quality. I know sometimes it's what we have, or people have different things, but this is just something that we do. And although not pictured, we did serve chopsticks with this because that's what our students typically use for this type of dish. So in summary, I don't think anything we did was, again, mind-blowing or anything. The good news is it's things that you can replicate in your own district. Just by making these small incremental changes, we were able to have a large impact on the quality of our meals. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Lori. And last but not least, we have Kelly Renard from Dover Area School District.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's nice to be here. For our grant, we turned ours into the K-12 Culinary University. Next slide, please. And the way this started out was at the summer culinary training event in 2022. Our head cooks attended with myself, and they absolutely loved it. They loved the hands-on training. They liked being there with each other and getting to know each other. We were on the tail end of COVID. They were very overworked. So this was such a nice reward for them to be able to be away from the district and just kind of let their hair down and learn something and dive into something new. One of the things that was new for them were just a lot of the foods that were presented. Dover is a very small district. We have about 4,800 students, and it's pretty rural. So they are not on the cutting edge of all the new trends and things like that. It's a meat and potatoes type community where they're used to just basic foods with basic seasonings and things like that. So just being able to sample new things in a safe place where it was okay for just my staff to say, oh, well, I think I like this, or I'm not sure about that. It was, for me, that was a big win by introducing them to new concepts and new flavors. Next slide, please. So they were very excited about this and they wanted to share this with their team. So with that in mind, I had representatives from all of my schools. I have 6 buildings. So I was able to write a grant for each one of those buildings. And that's how I got the Culinary University. So what I did is each school built upon one another. So the first class was instrumental to the rest of the classes. Each grant was a class at the university. Each grant included some small equipment purchases to be used with the techniques and the recipes that they were learning to help support that at their buildings. And then all the cooking methods that we learned, we tried to implement them immediately so people wouldn't revert back to bad habits. The official sampling is actually happening tomorrow, so I can't talk a whole lot about the quote official sampling, but I can talk about some of the soft type sampling and menu tasting that we did. Next slide, please. So our first class was the introduction to knife skills and vegetable cookery. We did this via the video session, and anybody who attended that was able to attend the in-person sessions that came later. So we did this on a half day when the staff would have gotten out of school early anyway. They came to the boardroom and we showed it in a group setting, and we had a nice Q&A session afterwards that they were able to ask myself and my assistant some questions. They were able to talk amongst each other and talk about what they did in each individual building. And they just did some real nice networking with each other and sharing ideas about how we were going to move forward with this. With this first grant, I did purchase 8-inch chef knives, peelers, and cutting boards because, like Carrie also said, some of our equipment was outdated, and I just wanted to get them something new, something that felt more comfortable in their hands, that they could get comfortable with and move forward with some of their skills. So the 2nd through the 5th class then, that was all live in-person training. The original idea was to do this in 2-hour segments after school. Unfortunately, there were some family issues that happened. We had to swap out that idea, and we ended up doing it on one day. It was a day that we had off, and we had our Culinary University that the staff attended one day. So it was still 2-hour classes, and it was a nice full day. We had lots of good food, and it was jam-packed. But in that first class, we did the introduction to beans, legumes, and grains. We made the Tuscan bean soup and the tabbouleh. And the equipment that I purchased with this for each building were the wire strainers. So Chef Bill Shapensky, he was our chef that came and he taught the attendees. And here you can see some pictures of my team putting their skills to the test. We set up stations all throughout our high school, and the girls went to work on putting their practicing the knife skills and prepping the ingredients for each of the recipes that we were making. Next slide. The second class then was the introduction to pairing dressings and seasonings for sensational salads. So in this class, we made the spring salad, we made a kale salad, and we did a Pennsylvania Harvest of the Month Southwest Shaker salad, which, by the way, that is excellent. And we are going to sample that with the kids. The equipment that we purchased for this class, they received blenders, large stainless steel bowls, and whisks for making those dressings and things like that. So next slide, you will see some of the recipes that we made during the class and some more of my team while they were prepping everything for our lunch that day. Next slide. So I believe this would have been our third class. We did batch cooking. Batch cooking was really important for me to include in the session because we had some bad habits where staff would prepare everything, kind of clean their hands up for the day, and then they were ready to serve. Realizing that the first batch of food was probably excellent, but those last group of kids that came in, those vegetables probably weren't very vegetable-like anymore at the end of that session. Or at the end of that lunch period. So it was very important for me to have them walk away with a good idea of how to do batch cooking properly. Because I think some people think they know how to do batch cooking, and it's not necessarily batch cooking. And Chef Bill was able to break that down for us very easily, and they actually got to see how simple it is, and it's not quite as time consuming as they thought to batch cook some vegetables so your broccoli is nice and vibrant. So this was a very, very big takeaway for me and for our staff this particular class. So we did broccoli and we did chicken noodle soup. The equipment that we purchased for this particular class was I got additional sheet pans and I got 2-inch perforated pans for steaming. And then here again, you can see some of the recipes that we made and our staff working to make those recipes together. It was St. Patrick's Day, so they had a real good time with that too. Next slide. So in this class, Chef Bill went over with us some of the cultural flavors and spices and herbs that are used and how you can take a simple basic recipe. For example, the chicken noodle soup, we used some of the base products for that soup, and then we used it again just by changing out a few simple ingredients, and we were able to produce a chicken tortilla soup. The equipment purchased with this part of the grant were the half pans, 4-inch long for service, so that we could switch out more quickly in between lines and keep the food looking nice and fresh as the kids were moving through the lines. And here you can see again, putting our skills to the test. And it was interesting because some of the staff were working with ingredients that they had never used before. Like the young lady in the center, she had never had an avocado. She had never cooked an avocado. So this was a very big experience for her, being able to use an avocado and learn how to take it apart and learn that it's really not quite as scary as what she had made it be in her head. So for me, that's always a big win when I can help my staff learn something new and break down some of those barriers and preconceived ideas about things being scary. So at the end then, our last grant, what I did is I bought the Smart Partners video series so that any staff that were not able to attend can go back and visit this education anytime that they want to. And any of the staff that did attend, if they want to revisit it and go over anything, they are able to do that as well. We had a nice little graduation where Chef Bill, he gave everybody a diploma at the end. I was able to get some pictures. And it was a real good experience. Some of the things that we learned, we put on the menu right away. Is the next slide still here? Okay, yes. And what I did is I wanted there to be some incentive for them. So we applied the knowledge immediately. And some of the things that we used right out of the gate were the roasting of vegetables, seasoning with fresh herbs, batch cooking the vegetables for shorter cook times, and introducing new flavors and foods. That I too did the chicken tikka masala. This is an example of our rainbow tray. So it goes along with what Carrie said, also with putting a rainbow on the tray. So we tried to have every color of the rainbow for the kids so that they could eat a rainbow. The tikka masala was not received well the first time we had it, but then as we kept introducing it to the students and allowing them to taste it, we did samples as the students were going through the line, getting their food of something else, like maybe we had a cheeseburger on, but we would give out a small sample of something that we were going to serve the next week. Next slide. So then the hook. This was the hook for the graduates. If they attended and graduated from K-12 university, they got to be part of our research and development team. So our research and development team is just simply recipe development. So, excuse me, it was important that they be connected and they have buy-in to our menu. So over the summer, there are designated days for my team to come in and work specifically with me, and I'll have all the foods there for them. We'll pick out certain recipes and we're going to make those recipes. We're going to tweak it, make notes about what we like about it, what we don't like about it, how we think we can improve it. We're going to work really hard at standardizing recipes for the whole district, look at taste differential between the younger children versus our middle school and high school students. So that is all going to be happening this summer. And then they will also help me develop a cycle menu that we will use for the school year. But what I wanted to do is give them some buy-in to the menu. I, of course, will still be doing the nutrient analysis, but because they're there on the ground floor with the kids every single day, they get that immediate feedback. So who better to get involved with creating that menu cycle than my actual staff who are actually doing it every day. So they are very excited about doing that this summer.
Oh, thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.
Now we're going to have Jenny Edmondson, who's going to share some culinary resources. And I just wanted to remind everyone, if you have any questions, please put them into the Q&A box. Jenny?
Whoops, sorry, I was muted there. So thank you, Elaine. Thank you so much, Carrie, Lori, and Kelly for sharing the fabulous work you've been doing at your school districts. I just want to share some resources with everyone for culinary training, standardized recipes, and taste testing. For those of you who may not be familiar, the Culinary Institute of Child Nutrition is a collaboration between the ICN, the Institute of Child Nutrition, and USDA. And CICN provides training and resources to help schools prepare and serve healthy culinary inspired meals, and really to try and elevate the atmosphere in the cafeteria. I particularly wanted to highlight their free videos. The Culinary Quick Bites is a short format, about 15 minutes each, training series, with each lesson focusing on a specific culinary related training topic, like knife skills, mise en place, and others. And as we've seen in some of the presentations today, you can use videos like these as a way to provide culinary skills training for your team, and also use it as an opportunity to include hands-on practice of the skill to help really reinforce the lesson and boost staff confidence. The child nutrition recipe box is where USDA's standardized recipes for all of the child nutrition programs are housed. The school recipes that are posted here are either 50, they yield either 50 or 100 servings. And of course, as standardized recipes, they include the step-by-step instructions. They have all your meal crediting and nutrient information included as well. Users can browse the recipes by category. You do have the option of registering for a free account, which will allow you essentially to save recipes into a virtual cookbook, which you could then print out if you wanted to do so. The other site I wanted to highlight is Pennsylvania Harvest of the Month. Pennsylvania Harvest of the Month is a program developed by PDE and Project PA at Penn State that promotes a local Pennsylvania agricultural product each month through downloadable materials, including posters, newsletters, graphics, serving line signage, and more. So when you go to the website, the heading, if you go to the recipe heading on the banner across the top, you can access the school recipes that incorporate Harvest of the Month items, which range from apples to winter squash. So I'd encourage you to check it out. You might find yourself inspired to implement Harvest of the Month in your operation, possibly by introducing one of the Harvest of the Month recipes on your menus or trying out through taste testing. And finally, I wanted to share some taste testing resources, again, from the PA Harvest of the Month website, and also from Team Nutrition at USDA. On the left are some posters that are that you can order for free from Team Nutrition. And up at the top right are some of the taste testing ballots that are available on Pennsylvania Harvest of the Month that you can print out. There are different ones, for older, appropriate for older and younger students. And at the bottom are some examples of stickers you can use for students who participate in your taste tests. I'm going to see if I can hopefully post the link. I don't have the link on here, but Team Nutrition has an online order form. I came up with it by just putting in my search engine Team Nutrition order form, and you'll find their page that has a button that says you can order here. And again, you can order these items for free as a school that operates the program. I was on just the other day and saw that the stickers, the Team Nutrition stickers, I think you could order 800 of them at a time for free. So, and you could also have the option of, coordinating with the posters and the graphics and things that they have there as well.
Okay, thanks, Jenny. So one of our questions is, will there be new trainings this summer? And yes, there will be. We have 3 training sessions planned for schools this summer. They are July 11th and 12th at Urban Crest, I'm hoping I'm saying that correctly, elementary school in the Seneca Valley School District in Cranberry Township. July 18th, 19th at Spring Grove Area Middle School, and August 9th and 10th at North Penn High School in Lansdale. There's a little bit of a different focus to these sessions, although they're continue to teach the same culinary skills that we have each summer. This summer's will focus primarily on Pennsylvania Harvest of the Month, so we'll feature a lot of those Pennsylvania Harvest of the Month recipes and items. Participants who attend the sessions will receive Pennsylvania Harvest of the Month signage. We do have some travel scholarships that are available, so if attending a session might mean that there's a little bit more travel involved and perhaps an overnight, those travel funds can help with that. Any school that is represented is eligible to apply for $1,000 to conduct Pennsylvania Harvest of the Month taste tests in their schools. Just clearing up something that we get questions about a lot. The site says that the limit is 2 participants per school, and we do mean per school. That's not per district. It's 2 participants per school. And you might be asking me why I'm promoting these sessions, because they're currently all full. But I want to really encourage people, if you're interested in attending these, please use the waiting list, because we do find that people register for sessions in March, April, and May, and by the time July and August comes, there's a lot of turnover and they're no longer available. So every time we do these, we really have been able to accommodate most, if not all, people who sign up for the waiting lists. I do want to mention that we're also doing half-day sessions this summer for CACFP and summer food service program sponsors that are not schools. So if you go to the Project PA website and you want to get on a waiting list, make sure that you're getting on the waiting list for the sessions for schools. And someone else mentioned, I'm sorry, I don't remember which one of you it was, about the value of coming out of COVID and kind of being refreshed through these live sessions. We did find that to be true. In one of the little nuggets that we learned from our evaluation of these sessions is that attendees this last summer in particular, although they loved working with Chef Bill, one of the things they valued the most highly was to network with other people from other schools and learn from them. And it might not have been learning anything about culinary skills, but maybe just, school food service operations kinds of things. So we really kind of maybe attributed that to possibly they didn't have that same level of networking during COVID, and this provided them an opportunity to be hands-on and to be talking to one another about their school meals programs. So that concludes our presentation. We're going to take questions. I'm just going to stop sharing my desktop. And it looks like so far we just have one question that I'm hoping that maybe each of our school food service directors can address. And it is, how many staff members do you have in each kitchen to scratch cook? And I know that might vary somewhat, but if you can just kind of address what kind of capacity you need to do the kind of scratch cooking that you're talking about. Should we just start with Carrie and then go Lori and Kelly?
I have a total of 16 people in my school district through both buildings. And we kind of rotate them through, but my main thing is I have at my high school 2 dedicated chefs, and at my elementary 1 dedicated. They don't have culinary background training, but we send them to training to get that background. And they are always so wonderful to be able to sit there and help delegate and teach the rest of the staff. So each little person sits there and helps and pitch in. You have a server who sits there and knows how that, this batch of broccoli needs to go in at this time. I'm here for it. Let's put it in so it's ready to go in and be fresh for the next staff. So that makes it very, very nice for how our buildings are.
I do not have chefs. I do have a dedicated lead cook at my high school. However, my staff in the 6 buildings, I have 32 staff people. We are still dealing with 7 vacancies. My elementaries vary between 3 to 5, I guess. My middle school has 7, my high school has 10-ish. So.
And in our district, we have, it varies. Our high school has 11 employees total, but our enrollment is 1,500 students there. Our middle school has 7 employees for an enrollment of 1,200, but then we have some elementary schools that only have 2 employees. So what we find has been working for us is sometimes we'll do the scratch cooking at the high school level and transport some of that to the smaller elementary schools who don't have the capacity or the time to do that.
Thank you. We do have another question, but we also have a poll that I would like our participants to take, if you don't mind. It's related to our evaluation of this project. I welcome you to continue to put your questions in the Q&A box, but just want to launch the poll in case any of you need to leave. Okay, so we're asking, which of the following actions do you plan to take as a result of participating in this webinar? So you can answer obviously more than one item. Explore taste testing resources, explore culinary training resources, explore new recipes, conduct taste tests, provide culinary training for staff, or register myself or staff for culinary training. Lots of responses coming in. Okay, we'll give it 3, 2, 1. And let's share the results. Hoping you can see those results. It looks like you plan to do a lot, mainly explore new recipes and conduct taste tests. So that's great. Thank you for answering those questions. The one other question that we have so far is, how do you get bananas cut without turning brown? I think, did we see that in on your slides, Carrie?
Yes, you did. Actually, that's right there. One of the ones we do a lot of scratch with. What we do is we have people who run through and will cut the bananas right before we serve them.
Anybody else have any tips they want to share along those lines? Okay. So it does not look to me like we have any more questions. Just give it a second or two. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. I especially want to thank our presenters, Carrie Boniak, Lori McCoy, and Kelly Renard, for sharing with us the great work that you're doing in your school districts. Again, the link for the certificate was posted in the chat box, so hopefully you're all able to download that and to document your professional development credits. And thanks for joining us this afternoon. Have a great end to your school years.